All right. So, you know what? I felt pretty passionate about this topic here because it's. And sorry, I'm on my way into work here. But I got to talk about this. All right. So Donald Trump just initiated the Space Force program, right? It's the newest branch of military, and I'm actually getting into a lot of fights about this on Facebook with some people who are pretty good friends of mine. They're getting kind of mad because they're like, Donald Trump's anti-science and anti-education, so how are we gonna do this? And they're getting all baby butthurt about this shit. But the thing that I don't think anybody realizes, all right? So one of the things that the military can do for you is give you a GI Bill, right? So you can go to college and get the career that you want. Not only that, but when you go in, you can get an MOS in the field that you want, right? Like, okay, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a nurse, let's say you want to be a nurse. You go into the military, you go join the Army, you go join the Navy, you go into the medical MOS, and you can become, you'll end up with the experience and the equivalent education of being a nurse. So when you leave the military, you are effectively a nurse, right? Right? You can do those things. You can once you get your GI Bill, you can go up and move up to being a doctor or a surgeon or whatever you want to do, and you can go from there. So why is everybody razzing on Space Force, right? It's like everybody preaches about, we need more women in STEM. We need more people in STEM and technology. Well, what do you think Space Force is going to offer, right? I mean, it's about space exploration. So you're going to need engineers who can build satellites and space stations and rockets. You're going to need mathematicians who are good at determining trajectory and calculating environmental factors and anything. I mean, really, just and studying different planets. So you're going to need like people who are going to be good at geology and biology. You're going to need these things, right? So this is just one more branch of military that can offer these things, right? So this is and okay. So I'm a writer, and this is my talent. It's one of my gifts for art, as I love to write. I'm actually currently working on a comic book right now, and so for me, Space Force it's a gold mine of potential for storytelling, right? So it's a branch completely devoted to space, and that's awesome. We have like our own. We're gonna have our own N7, right? Like we finally can have our own N7 and our Space Marines and all this other cool stuff. So it's pretty cool that it's almost like science fiction coming real, in a lot of ways, and that's to me that's really cool. And we can now have more of a sound structure. To me, superheroes that have served in the military often are some of the more interesting superheroes, like Captain America and Punisher and War Machine. These guys are normally pretty fascinating because they have a sense of discipline to them, something that you wouldn't normally see in someone like Spider-Man or Scarlet Spider or like Superman. I mean, Superman's disciplined, but he's not nearly as regiment in orthodox in his approaches to things that sometimes military people are. So that's why I'm pretty cool with the idea of Space Force. This is why I'm really cool with it. But it's just, I know that a lot of people are dumping on it because it's like, oh, well, Trump came up with it. And I know he was so blasé about it. He was just like, I just kind of like came up with it on a whim and just like, hey, whatever, it's a good idea. That's just kind of how he is, and that's fine. Sometimes he makes something so cool, kind of sounds stupid, but or vice versa, something that's really, really smart kind of seems stupid because he's talking about it because he's not very good at that. But it's a great I think it's personally, I think it's a great idea. There's just a lot of potential to this. But you know what? I mean, look. I mean, if you're gonna be baby butthurt about this, you need to stop and think about what it can do for people. We do have failing education system, but we spend the most amount of money on kids than anyone else in the world, but illiteracy is going up. So what do we have a problem here, right? Like we have, and I know that a lot of people are like, oh, well, Trump's cutting funding to education. Well, you know, most of these schools, they could be given like $1 million or $10 million to do with whatever they need to do. But most of these schools would rather pump that money into a better basketball court or a better football field or a better baseball field. And they take away that money from arts and literature and the sciences, right? Like go see Let's Go Tigers, the documentary about the Massillon education system, right? It was an absolute travesty. They pulled most of their funding from the rest of the school to pump into their football field. I mean, it was ridiculous. And you know what? All of that happens. And one of the other major problems, though, is that so when you need to cut the funding from the sports and put it into education, you get the same people who are like, well, the kids in the inner city, well, they're not that smart, but they've got athletics. So, you're taking away the basketball field and you're taking away their football field. So what future are these kids going to have? Well, I mean, either way you look at it, I mean, kids are going to be fucked. Either way, they're either going to be dumb but can run with a ball really well, or they're going to be smart but not as athletic. Or you might get a little bit more in the way of smart kids, but you never know. You don't know. I mean, we don't know. But it's just education. And it's like the whole education funding thing it's all about an onion. I mean, I was talking to a teacher once at one of my old jobs. I was able to stop and talk to a public educator, and he told me that one of the problems that in his area was not just one issue. There's 3 issues that he had that he noticed, and number 1 was poverty, personal poverty. The parents just couldn't afford to have books in their house. They couldn't afford to go to the library. The kids were latchkey kids. They just had to go straight home, so they didn't get a chance to read. Number 2, their parents were, they might have had a comfortable living, but their mom and dad were out of the house all the time because they were constantly working. So there was never enough in-home discipline for the kids to, want to sit and read. The other thing, too, was that some of these kids, like he told me, was some of them said that they'd rather just bank their life on the possibility of getting into entertainment and music, right? Like being an actor or being a musician. That's what their prospects were. They wanted to be rappers and they wanted to be actors, and that's what they wanted to do. And there's no future in that. I mean, really, it's like a 1 in a million chance, and most of the time, it's about who you know or who you blow in order to get into the industry. Just like in comic books. So this is the other frustration, because it's like I'm letting you guys know that yes, I'm trying to write a comic book. So that's one of the hard parts about getting into the industry, especially because if you are somebody who doesn't know how to draw and all you can do is write, finding an artist is really hard, because people are either they just want to do their own thing, or they want to break it, like they kind of want to break into the industry, but they're not really full-hearted in breaking in the industry. That's not their main thing. They just want to draw. So they want a lot of money up front, but they're, regardless of what you can offer them, like if you're like, hey, I've got an idea for a franchise and I want to grow and I want to build, and it's a brand, and I want to offer you partnership, right? So you get everything. It's split 50-50, right? So you get, if we make $1 million, bud, you just made $500 million, or $500,000. Sorry, $500,000. But they're, most of those people, they're like, nah, just pay me. Well, give me credit, but I need you to pay me up front. So it's kind of like, oh man, it's tough. It's tough, man. And it's a lot of people are like, they'd rather just get the money up front instead of just going, okay, well, we'll ride this project. Let's, we'll just start doing whatever we need to do. We'll get it out, and let's do what we got to do. And it's like, instead of just, well, hey, if this project doesn't go anywhere, I'll bill you later, and you can just pay me off then, or if this project does go somewhere, we can go from there. But it's tough, man. Sorry, that's just some of my personal struggles with a couple artists that I've been dealing with. One guy seems like he might be workable, but a couple of the other artists I'm not too keen on right now, and how they want to approach things. Look forward. I'm looking forward to talking to you guys more about the project that I have in mind. I'm hoping I can. As of right now, I'm looking at about 3 graphic novels. I've already kind of have them plotted out, like the themes I want to explore, the stories that I want to explore. I already have all the characters, for the most part, already filled up. I got names, I've got motivations, conflicts for the vast majority of them, or at least the ones that are important as of right now. But I'm gonna keep pushing forward. I'm gonna and keep it moving. So, but this was something that was weighing on my mind, and it's been kind of stressing me out a little bit. Then you know what? Let's look forward to like what's gonna happen. Let's see if there's any other comic book writers and artists who are gonna pick up on the Space Force thing and see if they run with it, because I definitely have at least a couple ideas what to do, and just try to stay positive about things, man. Just try to stay positive. All right, later.